I swear to goodness, if I could give Larry Bird a hug, that would feel really, really good to me. Because he helped get me out of poverty. He provided a father figure that was absent in my life, even if I never met him.
Hello and welcome back to the Experience of We, dear companions. I'm Naomi.
And I'm Matthew. I am.
He is.
That's who I am.
Yeah. And, you know, a thing that is somewhat normal in long-term romantic relationships, such as ours, is to meet each other's parents.
Yep.
And in the case of Matthew, that one's a little tender. I haven't met his dad because neither has he.
My biological father.
Indeed.
My biological father.
Your
yeah.
biological father.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Matthew hasn't had father figures. And in fact, Matthew's father figures have been especially important because he doesn't know his biological father. We've made a video previously about one of Matthew's father figures named George, who took him through a masculine initiation process that took the form of basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now we are here to talk about another one of Matthew's masculine figures, masculine templates, father figures, who has played a big role in Matthew's life and honestly in our relationship.
Yep. Yep.
Who I have come to have a deep respect for as well, who is Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. Sometimes Naomi refers to him as Papa Larry.
Yeah, Papa Larry.
Papa Larry.
Uh-huh. The rarest of birds. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. That's good.
I'm sure that headline was used back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. There are so many bird references in Larry Bird related articles, and so yeah, as Naomi said, I never met my biological father, and that certainly left a wound and a void in my life. And I, as a young man without a father, a young male-bodied person, I suppose, I looked for role models unconsciously. I wasn't, oftentimes I was not doing it with intention. I was just young and noticing the masculine figures around me and determining whether they had anything that felt good to me, anything that resonated with me, as I suppose is another way to put it. And actually, even though when I was growing up, I grew up during Larry Bird's prime. So I was born in 1975. So I was 5 years old or 4 years old when he entered the NBA. So I was young and I grew up in his prime. And my mom, my biological mother rather, even was a fan of Larry Bird. But I was not. I didn't quite understand basketball at the time. I got into it later, actually near the end of his career, but I still ended up taking him on during my teen years as a sort of surrogate father figure, even though I never met him. But I was able to observe him, birdwatch, if you will. Birdwatch. In so many different ways, books and videos and, you know, more books, basketball cards, more books, watching on television, things like that. And man, Larry Bird really was legendary, though. He was legendary. This was what ended up drawing my attention, you know, when I was a kid, and he was just a great basketball player when I was really young. He was just a great basketball player to me. It was later that I learned his story. I had to get old enough to find out where he came from. And I grew up in Indiana, in a city that was in the process of deindustrializing during my childhood, and that meant that the town was contracting, similar to what happened to Detroit. Um, but I grew up in Indiana. Larry Bird did too. He grew up in the poorest county of Indiana, so he was one of the poorest boys in one of the poorest places uh, that he grew up that in the area he grew up in, and you know, I was too, and so that resonated with me. He had to, if you read about his early years, he was in a lot of danger. There was, in addition to the poverty, there was domestic violence in his household and ongoing conflict between his mother and his mother and father. They divorced. His mother had to raise him and his brothers on working three jobs at a time, and his father committed suicide uh, while Larry was a teenager because he couldn't keep up with child support payments. And my understanding is that he committed suicide while on the phone with Larry's mother, and that's a pretty traumatic event. And so Larry grew up in poverty, needing to fight for everything that he could get, um, and lost his father. Complete paternal abandonment. I'm not necessarily criticizing Joe Bird. I think his name is Joe Bird. I think I know. Um, and also, he abandoned his family, or like functionally, if he committed suicide, he obviously was not well, and still it was an abandonment. And so I understand how crippling paternal abandonment can be. It can be really, really crippling. Um, and it didn't start when Joe committed suicide. That was the end of a long arc of paternal abandonment, is my understanding. And so Larry grew up without a functional father. And although one of the lessons my memories, if memory serves, probably does. I think I've read every book on Larry Bird, um, or almost every book. Larry's dad once had a broken ankle, I think, and needed to pull on a work boot, and his ankle was really swollen, and he just stuffed his swollen, broken ankle into a work boot and tied it and went to work. And that was why Larry played basketball with an injured back and developed a lifelong physical impairment. Like Larry never recovered from his basketball career. Um, he had to have fusion surgery in his back. That means that he suffered a permanent workplace injury. Um, but he had a work ethic, and one of the reasons that I find Larry to be legendary is because if you look at some of his closest competitors for great player of his era, is Magic Johnson, of course, everybody knows that. Um, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who is one of the reigning great players when Larry and Magic came in the league, and of course Michael Jordan, who came in after Larry and Magic, and so those would probably be like some of the greatest. Also, Dr. J, we're going to come back to him, but Magic, Michael, and Kareem all came from roughly middle class families with both mother and father available, well resourced, went to elite institutions. Magic went to Michigan State, Michael went to North Carolina, and Kareem went to UCLA. And they all had like coach father figures. Larry tried to go to Indiana University. He was a poor boy who made a scholarship, and he got there and found an abusive coach and abusive teammates who bullied him. And he was poor and overwhelmed, and he dropped out. He had to leave college. He couldn't. He probably could have handled the basketball. I think he proved he could have handled the basketball, but he couldn't handle the social dynamics without a strong father figure. Bobby Knight was not a strong father figure for Larry. My understanding is
Who
that
was Bobby Knight?
Bobby Knight was the coach of Indiana IU. Like Bird earned the right to go to an elite university, and the coach happened to be an abusive man. And Larry was allergic to that. He was allergic to abusive men. You know, I mean, my understanding is that his father was abusive. And so Larry couldn't take that, and he left, and started picking up trash. Like Larry Bird was done. He wasn't going back to basketball.
Working for the Parks Department, right?
A streets department
Streets
or Parks
department.
department, I'm not sure. I'll have to check with Larry. And so, you know, he gave up his chance, his golden ticket out of poverty. Man, I don't think a lot of people understand what getting out of poverty takes. Like that he was willing to kill himself to get out of poverty, but he was not willing to subordinate himself to an abusive coach.
You've had the same experience.
Yeah, no, I've had that experience. And so he surrendered his golden ticket. And a man from Indiana State University, which is like the poor person's college, I almost went there because I also was coming out of poverty. Attracted Larry, and he did not have a great program like Magic Michael and Kareem had. He did not have a legendary coach like Magic Michael and Kareem had. And my understanding is he had an assistant coach who took over for the head coach who had a stroke, and also they weren't a good team. They weren't a good team. Like all of those guys went to a team that was already historically good, and Larry went to a team that was historically bad and became the best. Became the best college basketball player of the time, including Magic. Won Player of the Year their final year in college. And so that's pretty legendary to escape poverty, to crash out, to surrender your golden ticket out of poverty, then to go back and prove that you were really that good. Like if Bobby Knight didn't think Larry was that good, if Bobby Knight had thought Larry was going to be that, because Larry Bird came from Fritz Lake, Indiana. He wasn't supposed to be that good. I'm telling you, I don't know where Bobby Knight is today. And I don't know what his story would be. He might argue with me, but I'm here to tell you, if he'd had any idea how good Larry Bird was, he never would have let him go. He never would have let him go. Unless he's insane. And he was, in a sense, because he closed off any possibility of finding out how great Larry was. And so you were wrong, Bobby. Just so you know, you're wrong about my dad.
Yeah.
You're
That's
wrong.
Coming up.
You're wrong. Yeah, you're wrong. And so were Larry's teammates at IU, who bullied him. He showed up, and the upperclassmen bullied him. They didn't want to give him the ball. They didn't want him to play. And that wasn't the last time Larry Bird was bullied. When he joined the Celtics, even though he was the best player coming out of college, he showed up on the first day, and this story is so widely known. He shows up his first day of practice, and there his teammates are abusing him. It's a great white hope, right? Like, Larry walked into a very charged racial situation, and one of his teammates targeted him. Like the reigning alpha of the team, Cedric Maxwell, who tells this story. So go ahead and check it out on YouTube. He likes telling the story. Cedric likes telling the story. Larry showed up. Cedric's like, great white hope, I'm going to bust your ass. Well, you might have to edit that. And then Larry's like, no, you're not. And then afterwards, Cedric Maxwell went into the locker room and said, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not. And a lot of people treated Larry that way in the early going. And so Larry walked into a very charged racial situation. The NBA was had a very charged racial situation at the time. There are books about this, so I'm not gonna cover that ground because that's not my area of expertise.
But it did sound like Larry did not want the label of Great White Hope.
Oh no, he knew how problematic that was, and if he ever talked about it at all, he was like, no, I am not that. That was not Larry's identity when he came into the league. He just wanted to be the best, right? He wanted to be the best, and he came from poverty and trauma. I mean, we watched one of our good friends, Joel, loves Michael Jordan, and we have been watching The Last Dance with him. And a lot is made of Michael Jordan losing his father after they had a lifelong loving relationship, and Michael's dad got to see 3 championships with him before his tragic death. And so they got a really full life together, and a happy life where Michael was provided for and had care and caretaking and had other father figures and things like that. Larry didn't have that opportunity. He didn't have a strong father holding him while he was becoming the best, including like he was the undisputed best player during Michael's early seasons. So he was better than Michael Jordan at that time. He was the best. He wrenched, he wrenched like it was a pretty, and it's a pretty intense battle. At least at the time, it was a really intense battle in the NBA for who's the best. Like guys were really there. There are guys I'm not even going to mention who were fighting to be the best. Well, I guess I'm going to mention Dominique Wilkins, Charles Barkley, for instance, savage warriors. And I don't mean savage in the they're uncontrolled and unreasonable, but like, man, Dominique Wilkins went all out to be as good as he could be. He didn't always have great strategies, but like there were some very powerful men who wanted bragging rights in the NBA. And so getting to the top of that dog pile took a lot of toughness and a lot of desire and a lot of intensity. And for a while, for some glorious years for me, because again, my father figure, Larry was the best. He took the title belt and held it for years. And there's an entire sort of like subgenre of YouTube of videos of guys being like, Larry Bird kicked my butt and talked trash to me. Oh man, it was so great. There's nothing like it on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you just watch some of these, like these guys love telling stories about Larry Bird talking trash to them and kicking their butt. And that really says something about the man. He earned their respect.
Right. So there are some other players who went around kicking people's butt
And talking trash.
and talking
Michael
trash.
Jordan didn't.
Right.
But there's not a subgenre of like, oh man, I have these really pleasant memories of playing against Michael and him talking trash to me. I haven't seen one. I haven't seen one. Nor Magic, nor Kareem. And so Larry Bird was legendary. Like these are legendary exploits. He came out of a very desperate and dangerous situation, and a lot of people did in the NBA. Like I'm not saying that Larry Bird necessarily even has the darkest story amongst other NBA players, but among the best people of his time, he did. The closest was Dr. J. Dr. J's father abandoned his family when Dr. J was 3, Julius Irving. And he, fortunately, he didn't kill himself, but he did leave the family. And when Julius was 3, and Julius was reported to have said he had to become the man of the house when he was really young. Man, that really struck a chord with me because I never met my father. My mother was disabled when I was 3, and I was told that I was the man of the house now. And I can tell you how hard it is to be a young man who has to take on those kinds of adult responsibilities. So far as I know, Larry and Dr. J in the 80s were the 2 guys who had a story that was kind of like that. And so they both had to fight to the top of a food chain while not necessarily being the best resourced people fighting for the top spot. And that's legendary. I find like legendary, like, I might make a whole video about this, but the word legendary is so misused.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what is the purpose of a legend?
Mm-hmm.
Why are legends spoke of with awe? In part, it's because legends provide templates for understanding human experience in a way that gives us a possible pathway that we could take in response to it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so like for me, I used to write basketball. I was I used to write basketball. I once was running a basketball blog back when basketball blogs were a thing. I got popular. It was called Basketballful. I got popular enough to get hired by ESPN for a while, covered the Chicago Bulls. Um, and man, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, legends.
Oh, God. And the word legend was thrown around so liberally. But like Michael Jordan, maybe the greatest player of all time. I don't think he is. Um, if I had to choose anybody, it would probably be Bill Russell for reasons I can talk about in another video. Um, but he wasn't legendary to me. Michael wasn't legendary. He was a well-resourced kid from a middle-income family who was groomed from a young age in a variety of sports, who was taken under the wing, who had a strong father, who was taken under the wing by a father figure at North Carolina, an elite institution with a great structure, and then, on and on.
And just because someone's resourced and held and supported in their development doesn't mean that they can't be legendary. But then it
Mm.
becomes, and what did they give to the world in response to that?
Yeah, I think I was coming from it from the place of like a template for me. So
For
like,
you
right,
specifically,
like
yeah,
so
totally.
someone else can find Michael Jordan legendary. I don't care. Like people have their own reasons, but for me, a legend provides a template for me to learn from. As a poor kid in poverty in Indiana with no father and no prospects, like looking up at Michael Jordan saying, well, if only I had a functioning mother and a strong father and a middle class income and like that wasn't going to do me any good. I wasn't coming from those circumstances. I was coming from I'm poor, I don't have a father. Is there anyone else in the world like me from a place where I'm at who did something to escape their circumstances? And the only person was Larry Bird. And so Larry Bird became legendary to me. And I think, I don't know. Um, I think there are more people in the world coming from less than middle class. I don't think most of the world is middle class and above.
That's provably true.
I think most of the world is like below middle class, lower class, some version of poverty. And so for me, Larry Bird is a better template for more people,
Yes.
for a way to take your life's energy and direct it at something with all of your will and all of your might and all of your savvy and all of your cunning and all of your brilliance, because everybody has some kind of brilliance. There's no one that doesn't. You don't have to have an high IQ to be brilliant. And so Larry Bird provided a template of someone who directed every bit of their life energy at something and became the greatest at it um, when he was going up against people who were physically more dominant than him in a sport about physical dominance. And he was able to overcome his limitations from a crater that other people weren't starting in. And so like that's definitely storybook kind of stuff to me. Like that resonated with me. And gave me someone to emulate, to escape poverty myself. And I did. I did. And Larry Bird was a big part of it. I swear to goodness, if I could give Larry Bird a hug, that would feel really, really good to me. Because he helped get me out of poverty. He provided a father figure that was absent in my life, even if I never met him. And that is the power of a position like Larry's, is that you get to be that kind of father figure.
Yeah, yeah, you get to have all of this attention on you, to command so much of the general public's attention,
Yeah.
and then direct it to what can a human be?
Hmm.
And especially coming from the disadvantage that Larry came from, it's an especially powerful statement about what is possible to strive for.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's probably worth mentioning here. I guess I notice it's coming up, which is one of Larry's traumas, in addition to the loss of his father and his poverty, was that he got married in college and had a daughter. And I think the conception of the daughter happened while he and the woman were divorcing. And so that was really rough timing because he was in college. Again, I think he was in Indiana State at the time. And um, he made the decision not to be directly involved in his daughter's life. I imagine he made all the child support payments. I don't know. I'd have to look that up, but I have a feeling because of what happened to Joe Bird, he probably made sure that all the checks arrived on time. Maybe. Um, but this is also how Larry Bird experienced intergenerational trauma. He grew up with an absent dad and he became an absent dad. And that's part of the tragedy of every good legend needs a tragedy, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and uh, and it also shows that the people who inspire us aren't always perfect. Can't be perfect.
No.
Sometimes they express intergenerational trauma that has a profound impact on people's lives, as Larry and his daughter.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they can't provide us inspiration. Um, and also, there's another tragedy in Larry's story that I want to bring up, which is that
Mm,
was a young man with a really powerful body. And
yeah.
because of social structures, the best way to engage his body to get out of his plight was becoming legendary at basketball.
Hmm.
And his lifestyle was, and the business of basketball is such that he pushed himself to the breaking point and
Mm,
past the breaking point many times in a way that took someone with a powerful body and really hurt him for life.
hmm.
And there is greatness and inspiration in the perseverance that he exhibited,
Yeah.
and also in appreciating the things that Matthew gained from his father figures. There are also places where I notice boundaries towards the patterns of his father figures, which Matthew has taken on. He stopped playing basketball to the point where he hurt himself pretty early on in our relationship.
Yeah, yeah. I learned many lessons about how to be from Larry, and I also did learn a lesson of how not to be, which is that um, I did not fully break my body um, doing what I did. I came pretty close, not just in the time that Naomi is talking about in my youth when I was trying to find a way to put myself through college. I was working two full-time jobs, manual labor jobs, with broken ribs because I had to, even though that could have punctured my lungs and killed me, according to the doctor. Um, and man, I had to do that. I had to do that. But as I got older, there were things I didn't have to do.
And that's where the boundary comes in.
And so seeing what Larry did to himself was part of how I realized in our relationship that I needed to stop taking certain chances with my body while it was still whole, and that we have kept it whole. And I changed the way that I train my body, in part because I didn't want to end up like my father or one of my fathers. And so
Hmm.
I appreciated that lesson too, because sometimes we have to see our fathers both rise and fall
Yes,
to learn all of the lessons that we need to learn from them.
yes.
So
But do you think wedding cakes are really better?
Oh my gosh. All right, so quick Larry Bird story before we sign off on this video. I might make more Larry Bird videos. It's hard to say. We'll see if we have space. We'll see if you want more Larry Bird videos or more commentary from me on Larry Bird. Let me know in the comments. But there is this story about how Larry Bird was injured and he was bored at home and he kept ordering wedding cakes to eat. And his answer about why he was doing this while being a professional athlete was because you knew that they would be good, no one would screw up a wedding cake. That he ate wedding cakes as a normal practice because he knew that they would be good. And that was his down home Indiana logic, and also terrifying for a man who was trying to compete in the NBA. I doubt LeBron ever ate a wedding cake during his career, but LeBron, if you hear this video and you did, drop something in the comments because I would be surprised. I would be.
Well, now I'm craving cake.
Me too. We're not gonna have any.
No, we're not gonna have any.
And so.
But we might go pick up basketball later today.
We might pick up a basketball. So one of the things that I'll leave you with in this video is that young masculine people need masculine role models of some kind. And we'll either get them at home or we'll find them elsewhere in the world, or we won't find them at all. There weren't many masculine role models that I wanted to take on when I was growing up. And so if you can find one that resonates with you, and you need a masculine template, then that is a very viable way to receive some surrogate parenting. And I know a lot of people receive surrogate parenting from people like Larry. And I might even have more to say about this in a future video. But if you have one, if you have a surrogate father figure, masculine figure, tell us about him in the comments. That'd be pretty meaningful to me to hear some other lost boys who needed to find fathering elsewhere.
Yeah, me too.
So thank you as always for your time and attention, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.